Good afternoon to everyone here this afternoon. I would like to apologize for the late start, and we're going to get right into the meat of this afternoon's session. This afternoon we are here to launch the book, The Social and Economic Effects of the American Occupation in Trinidad during the Second World War, 1939 to 1945, by Mr. Nyahuma Obika, MSc in Global Studies student, IIR, U.W.I. Welcome. And to get the program with the opening remarks, we'd have Mr. Kasala Kamara. A little bio on Kasala Kamara. He is a political scientist, lecturer, educator, journalist, and a consultant. A graduate of the University of the West Indies, St. Augustine. He holds a BSc in government honor degree, a postgraduate diploma in international relations honor, and a MSc in international relations distinction. Could you help me welcome Mr. Kasala Kamara to the microphone, please?
Thank you, Brother Chairman. I would like us to first put our claps together for our brother Nyahuma Obika for producing a piece of work, even though it was done as an undergraduate student of history. It is very relevant in terms of the contemporary situation. Let us give him a round of applause again for making it available to the public. I want to recognize Brother Wade Mark, the author, and pleasant good evening, afternoon, brothers and sisters. I would want to speak very little on the content of the book, seeing that if you go to the forward, you will see clearly where I made reference to certain aspects of the book in terms of the US penetration of Trinidad and Tobago during that period of World War II. What I would want to do in this short time is to thank Brother Nyahuma Obika for launching the book at a critical time in the history of Trinidad and Tobago, the Caribbean, and the world, and to indicate that from an international relations perspective, we need to understand that there are very important lessons to be learned, not only by the period of the US occupation, but by some of the developments that are taking place right now in Trinidad and Tobago. I am from South Trinidad. My father was an activist of the Oilfield Workers Trade Union and was part of the 1960 strike in Pointe-a-Pierre. And as a result of that strike, he had to leave Texaco at the time and become self-employed, and he was a taxi driver for quite a number of years. So having given you that background, there are certain points I would like to make. The first point I would like to make is that what is taking place at this time represents a serious reversal of the gains that were made in this country during the period of the 1970s. And it is an attempt to reintroduce the rules of the game that guided what we know as colonialism. In other words, we fought for control of the commanding heights of the economy. And one of the important elements of that was the question of producing goods in terms of downstream. And any attempt to present the solution to our problems as a return to the production of raw materials is a clear indication that we are on the pathway of recolonization. Whether we utilize the plantation model by Bess and Levitt, which described that as the Muscovado bias, what we need to recognize is that is where we are heading at a very fast rate. But as a student of international relations, we must also understand what is known as globalization and the role that transnational corporations have played in maintaining the colonial order. And when we look at the current environment, we recognize that there are very powerful international forces that are positioning, or that are well positioned in fact, to deal with not only refined products, but very importantly, the finds in Guyana. In other words, you cannot understand what is taking place now by simply focusing on the nation state. Any international relations student will tell you, you have to understand state actors and non-state actors, and many of these non-state actors are more powerful than the state actors. I am just supposed to give the opening remarks. What I would like to conclude by saying is this. In the final analysis, the solution lies with the people of Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean, following consultation, mobilization, and participation. In other words, you cannot come to a country and make a decision like that, which an international visitor stated will devastate or decimate South. In fact, it will decimate Trinidad and Tobago. And that decision is made without the consultation of the people of Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean. And why I say the Caribbean is because Caribbean energy security is also under serious threat. So I would like to thank Brother Obika for the timing of the launching, for the issue which are contained in the book, and for giving me the opportunity to speak in this forum. Thank you, brothers and sisters, and I would like to say all power to the people. Thank you.
I know you all can do a little better than that. Give them, gentlemen, thank you very much. We're going to have some entertainment now. We have a gentleman by the name of Mr. Dwayne O'Connor. He's Calypso Monarch and Young Kings champion. So we now ask Mr. Dwayne O'Connor to come forward. I want to believe that he would be doing one of the songs that come out of this book. So Mr. Dwayne O'Connor will be here to sing for you all.
Good afternoon, everyone. Of course, good afternoon to the head table. I wouldn't say all protocols observed because I don't believe in that. I don't know why people do that. So this one is called Rum and Coca-Cola. Hope you enjoy. When the Yankees came to Trinidad, most of the girls were more than glad. They said that the Yankees treat them nice, and they gave them a better price. They got rum and Coca-Cola, go down Point Kumana, both mother and daughter, working for the Yankee dollar. Rum and, another end, y'all. Go down Point Kumana. Mr. Dukran, I know you know this song. Working for the Yankee dollar. I had a little chick the other day. Her mother came and take her away. Herself, her mother, and her sisters went in a cab with some soldiers. They got rum and Coca-Cola, both mother and daughters. Rum and, we have over 1,000 people here. Okay, sing it now. Go down Point Kumana, both mother and daughters, working for the Andrews sisters and Bing Crosby should come to the West Indies and learn to sing in the full moon and better poon. They got rum and Coca-Cola, both mothers and daughters working for the. It have some aristocrats in Port of Spain. You know I wouldn't call no name. Dress up in suit in the day of light, but in the darkness, in the night, they get rum and Coca-Cola. I said Point Kumana, both mothers and daughters working. Before I leave, I want to hear y'all sing it now. Rum and Coca. go down Point Cool. Both mothers and daughters are working for. You all hearing the hidden in the song? I want to sing the first verse again. When the Yankees came to Trinidad, most of the girls were more than glad. They said that the Yankees treat them nice, and they gave them a better price. They got rum and Coca-Cola, both mother and daughter. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the evening.
Thank you much, Dwayne. And you all could give Dwayne a better round of applause. I think you all could have used all the voice and helped the man sing the song. That was a song everybody know. Okay. Because Mr. Dr. Michael Tuse have to attend to some emergency on the campus, we would now ask him to deliver his remarks. Dr. Michael Tuse.
A very pleasant afternoon to one and all. I don't think it's adequate to say all protocols observed. There's a lot of protocol here. I'm in a meeting that I am a part of and part of a discourse. And I took the time to come to this function and make a physical presence because of my deep sense of the inspiration and the modeling that flows from the work that Brother Obika has been doing and which he continues to do in producing yet another booklet of significance, I should say critical importance, for the people of Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean. Let me explain what I mean in rather quick terms. Ours is a region which we think of as consummate in the way its past is viewed. That is to say, we speak of a Caribbean. That word itself is a problematic word because it is derived from Caribs, the background of which in historical terms and in historiographical terms suggests did not exist as we see it, and we have written it in our history books. Carib meant cannibal. And it referred to all those who were radically and militarized, radically opposed and militarized against foreign forces and foreign invasion of the times. The European incomers. When we speak of the West Indies, west of where? We are not west of anywhere. We are north of South America, east of Middle America, and south of North America. West has to do with being west of Europe, and that is not a good west. It's like when you speak of the Middle East, it's the middle of nowhere. A considerable part of it is in North Africa. So people make terms and imagine realities, verify them through conventions, and we follow suit. And the Caribbean is full of that. The University of the West Indies, the very institution to which I belong and on which behalf I speak at times, has a summer program. There's no summer in the Caribbean. And some of the summer programs are held in the Institute of Critical Thinking. My friend Kasala will tell you that is critical thinking for you, West Indian style. So we have come to the point where we have significantly imbibed the history as told by metropolitan scholarship. This is problematic. And sometimes the historians who operate in faculties take on these issues, but at times they are oblivious to the reality that the distance from them, rests upon us. And it is very serious And therefore, I want to commend this brother, who has a remarkable history in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. A member of an institution we know that is historical, a member who joined the movement on his own, did not share the stage with Daga and those guys in those days, but he became so conscious that he remained a living part of the revolution that did so much to change thinking in Trinidad and Tobago in 1970. This is not his first book. And when I looked at it, I saw the citizenry reaching out to present a view of the masses and those who rally with the masses rather than those who rally from lofty chambers of isolation and sometimes jaundiced thought. This is what we have here. And I raise it because in 2018, we in the Caribbean are yet to understand that the vast majority of Caribbean countries are constitutional monarchies. What is a constitutional monarchy? You have a prime minister, you have a leader of government business, a head of government, but you have a head of state that is British. That is the story of the Caribbean. In Jamaica, we boast about chanting Babylon down one more time, but constitutional monarchy? Huh? And that is the international politics of it. At a local level, our leaders are often leaders because they are leading, because they are replacing someone else who was leading, and therefore they lead as those who were leading, and they talk about social and political emancipation. There's something called neocolonialism. And the only way we grapple with that really is when we have a view from the masses, not those well-trained, to repeat in a repeated sense the dictum or dicta that comes from those who preceded them. So I think this is an august gathering. I congratulate those of you who found it possible to make the time, because you are doing what I would have wanted to do. Some of our esteemed politicians, right, who leave their mark from time to time. My brother from years ago, Brother Kasala Kamara, and a man who I have promised myself to buy a copy and speak of every book that he has written, because he is doing some of the things that other people should have done. We are in 2018, but neocolonialism, you should know that, is amiss. It's our friend. We have not yet grown to that point where our consciousness can lead to our own development. We still don't understand what doubles means. We still don't understand what bacon shack means. We understand what Americanization in 2018 means. To hell with everything local, think American, and if that is the only Trump we have, so be it. And so, I want to congratulate the brother for this valiant attempt. I want to congratulate all of you for being here. I advise you to read it, but think at a different level. Many books are written by Caribbean scholars designed to provoke thought. But the thought is not there, and therefore I say the reading and the real reading is not happening. We still a society that is yet to find that inner self that would make the brilliant future we are supposed to have. I thank you.
I want to thank Dr. Michael Tousse for giving us such thought-provoking thoughts this afternoon. Beautiful. I want you all to give him a round of applause for, and thank you again, Dr. Tousse. Thank you. No, you're a busy man. Good. Our next speaker would be Senator Wade Mark. I would ask Senator Taharka Obika to come and introduce Senator Wade Mark. Ms. Obika.
Good evening, everyone. Sorry, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm rushing the day. Well, you have to forgive me. We are engaged in national consultations on the budget to come across the length and breadth of Trinidad and Tobago. So I'm living in the evening. The next speaker that we have is no stranger to the political landscape and the history of Trinidad and Tobago. Will record his work and his achievements. He is also bringing greetings on behalf of the political leader of the United National Congress, a party of which I have the duty and the privilege to serve, and by extension to serve the people of Trinidad and Tobago. He, of course, will be familiar to you as the former Speaker of the House, and at the moment, he's the leader of the opposition in the Senate. Please join me in welcoming Senator Wade Mark.
Thank you. Thank you very much, my colleague and my senatorial colleague from the Senate, Senator Nyahuma Obika. I would like to begin by recognizing the author of this very important publication, Nyahuma Obika. I want to also recognize Brother Kasala Kamara. I also recognize our colleague who is professor at this university, former minister and colleague Winston Dukaran, and of course Dwayne, who rendered a very wonderful rendition, Kai so wise. And let me welcome every other individual here present today. I would like to extend, or should I say, good afternoon, and may I begin by registering my profound thanks and sincerest appreciation to the organizers of this significant occasion involving the launch of Brother Obika's publication entitled The Social and Economic Effects of the American Occupation of Trinidad during the Second World War, 1939 to 1945. Let me also record my appreciation for the very kind and warm welcome extended to me by the organizers of this book launch this afternoon. It is my distinct pleasure and privilege to be here at this important event and to represent the Honorable Kamala Prasad Bisasa, Leader of the Opposition and Political Leader of the United National Congress, who has extended regrets for not being able to be with you this evening and to actively participate in today's activities. The launch of this book by Brother Obika is worthy of high praise, and I would like to extend warmest congratulations to him on behalf of the Honorable Leader as well as on my own behalf. This seminal publication provides the nation of Trinidad and Tobago with a unique opportunity to reflect on our past and to assess and evaluate the far-reaching impact on our country's socio-economic and cultural environment of the American occupation of significant segments of our country during the period identified in this publication. Having been born and grown grown up, I should say, in the Western Peninsula, I am very familiar with the American occupation of Chagaramas. I was literally a witness to this foreign occupation of our lands in that part of Trinidad and Tobago. The publication that we are exploring today examines the many infrastructural and economic projects, inclusive of roads and bridges, that were constructed during that period by the Americans, particularly when it comes to Chagaramas, the American Navy Construction Brigade. The U.S. occupation of significant portions of Trinidad had a major impact on this country's social and cultural landscape, which you would recognize would have been manifested and still can be seen in our dress mode, as well as our musical elements, particularly manifested in the calypso art form, which I want to refer to later on. The American occupation of Chagaramas triggered not only drastic economic and infrastructural changes, but also generated many significant social changes. With a large number of American military personnel entering Trinidad, we witnessed the development or the emergence of prostitution, which almost became like an institution in Trinidad, where we had the spreading of brothels springing up in many parts of the environs, where many of our sisters and mothers and daughters, were providing at that time what the Americans would want to call services for their military personnel. That was the kind of society we had at that time. And in the midst of all this, the kaiso or calypso, which is this country's medium of storytelling, reflecting developments and events, also took on its own life, reflecting in calypso the reality of that period. For example, the song rendered by our colleague was that of Lord Invader, Rum and Coca-Cola, which took to the stage in 1943, proclaiming women in Trinidad and Tobago were working for Yankee dollars, the American money. And just to reiterate some of the lyrics if the Yankee comes to Trinidad, they got the young girls all going mad. He went on to say in that song, well, the girls in town feeling bad, no more Yankees in Trinidad. They're going to close down the base for good. Them girls have to make out how they could. That was Mighty Sparrow reflecting the closure of the base in 1967 and reflecting what was the feelings of the population in that part of the island. Brothers and sisters, may I remind you that the US occupation during that period became an irritant to the then Premier, later Prime Minister, Eric Williams, and other nationalists who wanted to, and they were struggling with many others, to put an end to foreign domination of that kind within that part of the region of our country, whether it was Wallafield or whether it was in Chagaramas. It was only a matter of time before the British, as you recall, abandoned their Caribbean colonies. The politics of the immediate post-war period would be dominated, as you recall, by Eric Williams and the demand of the then nationalist movement for the Americans to leave Chagaramas. This was finally done in 1967 after the Yankees began a scale back in 1956. We also must take cognizance of the fact that the base, the Americans' occupation of Chagaramas, came as a result of an agreement, I should say, which came into force on September the 2nd, 1940, known as the Destroyers for Bases Agreement, which was entered between the United States and Britain at a time when Britain was under severe threat of being gobbled up by Germany during the Second World War. This agreement allowed the Americans to lease very critical pieces of our territory for a period of 99 years, rent-free. It affected not only us in Trinidad and Tobago, but they were able to establish American bases in Newfoundland, in Canada, Bermuda, the Bahamas, Antigua, Jamaica, St. Lucia, and British, at that time, Guyana, now Guyana. So the American occupation of the Caribbean as a result of this agreement had a big impact on many Caribbean territories and countries and left a permanent impact on the landscape of our territories, particularly the social landscape and cultural landscape, in the mode of dress, as I said, and the art form. Even during that period, the steel band movement got a lot of life and was involved in that period of its formation, that is the period 39 to 45. Brothers and sisters, I wanted to just share with you some of these thoughts on this particular publication. I wanted to share with you that as a young nation, with this information contained in this publication, we can learn a lot as we move forward, because Trinidad and Tobago continues to grapple with a number of social, economic, cultural, and political problems at this particular time. And we are very happy that Brother Obika has been able to find the time and to put into a publication form a piece of work that would serve us well in better understanding and appreciating the historical development of our country, and particularly the period of occupation by the Americans during not only 39 and 45 during the Second World War, but this agreement extended for the period 1940 until the Americans left in 1967. So it was a very considerable period of time when the Americans occupied Trinidad and large segments of our country. So I would like to extend to our colleague our congratulations once again for putting together this very important and historical piece of work and manifested in this publication, recognizing and portraying our development as a civilization as we chart the way forward for a better Trinidad and Tobago. So, Brother Obika, I would like to say on behalf of the Honorable Political Leader, I'd like to extend on her behalf and on my behalf warmest congratulations to you on this very important achievement and on this very important publication. We would like to urge you to continue the great work that you have started with further publications as it relates to the future and the future of our nation. This is a very important piece of work. It's a brilliant piece of work that you have produced, and we would like to recommend this work to students and to others in our society for consumption. So on behalf of the Honorable Political Leader, I would like to extend to you and to all of us who are here our warmest congratulations on your work in producing this very seminal work for the annals of our history in TNT. Thank you very, very much, Brother Obika.
Thank you, Senator Mark, for those fine remarks and that lesson in history that we all got this afternoon. I now would want to ask Senator Taharka Obika to come and do the spoken word. Senator Taharka Obika, spoken word. Welcome in, please.
Well, this time around, I is no senator. I just a fella from Trinidad and Tobago. You understand? So, you see, back in them time, when you draw down your history a long time ago, real long, you know we was Trinbagonian and thing now. Yeah, we had independence and republic and all them things. But before that, we was subjects of the Queen of England. And in 1939, when things was bad water more than flour, they called for America to come down here. So no matter how far we progress, one thing you have to remember, in this place called Trinbago, America Day. America way? America? All this song good. America way? America? Yes. So here we're going on. You see, when they take that road from town to Arima, the Churchill Roosevelt Highway It's America who built that, because in them days, the only thing sweeter than honey was some sweet, crisp, fresh Yankee money. I know you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. I tell you what, America's so much inside this place that when you watch some people and you watch the color, the skin and thing, you might realize, or you hear the accent, you say, inside that fella or that girl, America they too. Because watch now, when they spend the money, people just run the honey. That's our next talk for our next day. But watch our next thing you ought to look at. People always like to look and thing in Trinidad. We have good sites, so they go up on the Lady Young Road, man, in Mova. It's who built that? America, yes. It's America inside there too. Or if you want to go and take a bath in the next beach, somewhere down in the North Coast. Where's the famous place? It's the place that has come first and last. It rhymes with that. We call it? Maracas. Oh gosh, watch now. Down today and all. America Day. And when you go down south, where I come from, it had no way you could reach Port of Spain if you ain't cross Mosquito Creek and crossing, because America inside it. So when you go and sleep at night and they say, God bless Trinidad and Tobago, don't forget, Nyahuma Obika say, America Day. Thank you very much.
No. I think you all could do better than that, man. That's the spoken word. America Day. Right. Thanks very much, Mr. Obika, for the spoken word. All right. I have some more entertainment. from Mr. Dwayne O'Connor, Calypso Monarch and Young King champion. Mr. O'Connor, put your hands together and welcome Mr. O'Connor for a second time. Entertainment.
Good afternoon again, everyone. And I give you something from the book, but to loosen up a little more, I'm going to give you a little more entertainment. Go right ahead. And those of you who don't know, you would know after this, because the older ones will help me sing, not so? Have you ever studied how some young girls get married? They just think of all sorts of things when they want a ring. They just sit down and draft out a plan how to trap a man. Last week I saw Elsie giving she man Alexander this recipe. You know, she boiled she petticoat in a pan of water, and she put in she brassiere half an hour after. Man, she sweetened it with honey and she add some red lavender. And in 9 days' time, she was Mistress Alexander. If you want me to love you, you got to love me too. Girl, I'm telling you, if you want me to love you, you got to love me too. Girl, I'm telling you, donkey years of loving you, I can't get a kiss. Oh no, darling, what kind of love is this? What's the chorus? Your crazy, crazy love, your crazy love is what I'm dreaming of. You're haunting me, and my heart seems to plead, darling, love me, or let me be free. Guy, so sweet, huh? Baluba-doo-doo, baluba-doo-doo, baluba-dee-dee. Street cries in the city, yes pa, really does amuse me. Street cries in the city really does amuse me, like sharpening knives and scissors. And peewa, 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 lady get your peewee-wee-wah. I don't care what nobody say, the Iceman have the best love way, and his eyes, eyes. Sing the chorus. Sing the song, children. All kind of eyes. Ice in your eyes. Yes? Ice in, you got to bite it. Ice in, I said to chew it. Ice in, suck it. Ice in your eyes. I wonder why nobody don't like me. Or is it a fact that I'm ugly? I wonder why nobody don't like me. Or is it a fact that I'm ugly? I leave my whole house and go. My children don't want me no more. They cussing black is white and ting. And when I talk to them, they start to sing. Mama, look up, boo-boo. They shout. The mother told them, that is your daddy. My daddy can't be ugly, so shut your mouth, go out. Yeah, mama, look up. A boo-boo day, shut your mouth, go. Yeah, mama, look up, boo-boo day. Put your round of applause for Calypso now. I'm going again. Taking a plastic surgery. The people say that I'm ugly. Taking a plastic surgery. The people say that I'm ugly. Oh Lord, I sent my son by my neighbor last Sunday to get some butter. I find that the boy was taking too long. The neighbor cross-questioned the boy upside down. Boy, how your father ugly so? My boy child just tell them, no, my father, he have a good voice. And he is my mother's choice. But when I go home, I'm going to tell me mommy, all you say me daddy ugly, the creature from the Black Lagoon is you. No, I'm going to tell me mama, the creature from the Black Lagoon is you. No, I'm going to tell me mama, the creature from the Black Lagoon is you. No, I'm going to tell me mama, the from the Black Lagoon is you. Jonah, you take a bake here. I gone. Thank you.
Come on, keep it going, keep it going. When last will I hear those songs? That's quite a while we haven't heard those songs. Thank you very much, Mr. O'Connor. And to bring you all closing remarks, we'll have Mr. Nyahuma Obika, the author of this book. And I just give you a small bio of Mr. Obika. Nyahuma Obika is a former deputy political leader of the National Joint Action Committee, Director of Caribbean History, Historical Society, Director of the Caribbean Historical Society, and Director of the Butler Institute of Learning and Labor. He served as High Commissioner of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago to the Federal Republic of Nigeria, with accreditation to Ghana, Cameroon, Senegal, the Democratic Republic of Congo, as well as a permanent representative with the observer status to the Economic Community of West Africa states. Welcome, Mr. Obika, who present this piece of literature to us here today, and we all want to congratulate him, and we ask Mr. Obika to come forward. Please welcome him to the podium.
Thank you very much, Mr. Anthony Moore, Master of Ceremonies on today's event. Also to Kasala Kamara, who, like myself, were undergraduates here in St. Augustine in early 1970s, and also Senator Wade Mack. We were also undergraduate colleagues during the roaring 70s on the St. Augustine campus, in 71, 72, 73, 74. Okay? I'd also like to recognize our hostess of this occasion, the Honorable Professor Byron, who's sitting very quietly to the back in that pink top there. Professor Byron, could you please stand and acknowledge? This is the Director of the Institute of International Relations here. I gave her a lot of trouble in order to get this venue, and she was very, very supporting. And also, the Institute celebrated its 50th anniversary in 2016, 2 years ago. And Professor Byron is the first female director of the Institute in its 50 years. In fact, on the 50th anniversary. Yeah. She's a fantastic intellectual. She's from St. Kitts and Nevis, one of our sister islands in the Caribbean. So we are in very good hands, I can tell you, here at the Institute. I'd also like to recognize so many titles, but I'll use his current one, Professor, what's his name? Professor Winston Ducaran, former Prime Minister during the heady days of the 1990s, former Minister of Finance and whatever. Professor Ducaran is now at the Institute, Professor of Practice here. And I'd also like to recognize Ms. Angela Govaya to the front. Ms. Govaya is the first and only honorary consul of the Republic of Ghana to Trinidad and Tobago. She served in that capacity, around 2000 to about 2005, 2006, when she was PRO of Plideco. All right, so we're glad to have you here. I think tomorrow the Institute is hosting a special event here in honor of Kofi Annan, whom you all know, Also, other members of the audience, I would like to thank you all for coming out to this event. I just saw my baby sister walking, Beverly Paris, my younger sister. Well, she's my younger sister, but she acts like my older sister. Okay? Beverly is also a graduate at the university here at St. Augustine in management, I think it was, in the late part of the 70s. So I think I see Dr. Montut in the back there. Am I seeing right? Thank you. One of our lecturers here as well. So I would like to make some closing comments on this piece of work. This was my first degree thesis, which I did in 1976 as a student in history and political science in the Faculty of Arts and General Studies. And it was done in 1976. My supervising lecturer at the time was Dr. Fitzbatiste. And in those days, we didn't have the American semester system. We had the British system. So you had 3 terms. The first term was from September to December. And then the second term was from January to Easter, and then after Easter to June. So we had a lot of time during the first term to do all kinds of things on the campus. Okay? And we did a lot of things on the campus, I can tell you. And so when I completed all my exams in May, I was able to devote the rest of May, June, July, and August to do this piece of work in 1976. I had joined NJAC just about 2 years before. I entered St. Augustine at the age of 19 years, straight out of A-levels from Presidential College in San Fernando. And at the age of 20, the very next year, I joined NJAC. Okay, but those were the days of the 1970s. And the St. Augustine campus was the birth of the 1970 revolution. Okay, because it did not only involve nationals of Trinidad and Tobago, but from the length and breadth of the Caribbean, from Jamaica, from you name it, every island and also territory in the Caribbean, you had students here. And they were very much part of that whole movement. It was a consciousness movement, okay? And we read everything and anything. We would go and find a book and come the next day on the campus and we would argue the different points in the book. And we also take the book to our lecturer and show him, look, I don't think you have told us about this. It was a spirit of inquiry that was tremendous during that period. We questioned every single thing, everything. Politics, history, culture, science, you name it. We questioned it. But we questioned it in doing research, and we did research and brought back what we discovered. And Kamara was one of the chief architects in those areas in a very positive way, okay? All right? It was an era of, we were searching and questioning everything, okay? So that it wasn't surprising that in 1976, that same year, I changed my name legally, okay? In November of 1976, I changed my name legally, and I didn't just take the name because how it was sounding. I researched the names, their means of meaning, historical and otherwise. I just on the basis of the meanings of those names and historical origins and whatnot, I chose those names. So since November 1976, which is what, 42 years now, these are my names, longer than the names that my parents, my mother and father gave to me. And I was living in San Fernando in a fairly, what they call a middle-class environment, okay? My father was a senior staff at Texaco in Pointe-a-Pitre at the time. My younger sister who just came in there, and my brother, and what have you, okay? And I did what the Marxists call in those days, I committed class suicide, okay? I won't go into details of that, right? But it was a beautiful period. And from May to August, in fact, the idea to do this, the idea came from Makandal Daga. I was a young member of NJAC at the time, and he advised me, okay, if you want a topic to research that period of the Americans. Because he told me of experiences which exist. It was in many ways not good and not terrible experience that took place. He told me of instances in Laventille where he lived in Laventille Road, of fights between the American soldiers and the local men, okay? Because the American soldiers did what they wanted. If they saw you walking the road in those days with your craft, as they used to describe the woman, they will beat you and take your woman, go with her. This is a very, very terrible period in many ways, okay? And so he advised me, that's a good topic. So that's why I got the idea to research this period for my Caribbean Studies, topic in 1976. And it so happened that Dr. Batiste was doing his PhD on the legal arrangement between United States of America and Britain, okay? He had already completed his master's, and he was now in the process of finalizing his PhD. So he could not share with me, okay, and those who know Dr. Batiste, he doesn't play. Very, very serious person. He couldn't share with me some of his findings, okay, because he had not completed his master, his PhD thesis. So it so happened then that he was the one who was my supervisor. And we are talking of 1976, okay? In 1976, there was not much documentation, which is just about 20 years or 30 years post 1939, 1945, okay? But there weren't much documentation that I could have gone to, in order to get information about the social and economic effects of that occupation during 1939 to 1945. So one of my main sources of information was the Western Reference Library, which at that time was on Belmont Circular Road, okay? And so there weren't many books I could have gone to, And also there was the oral tradition, which Brother Dag at the time advised me, because there are many people who had lived through that period. Now, I did not, because of time constraints and whatnot, okay, tap to the extent that I should have or could have, all right? It would have needed much more time. But for those who I did speak to, some of these stories were not too happy, not too nice stories that were told to me, you know, of the kinds of experiences that people, you know, had during that period. So my major source of information was the Western Reference Library in Belmont Circular Road, and mainly the Trinidad Guardian, because, you know, the Guardian came into existence in 1917, okay? So I went there every single day during the month of May, because I'd finished all my courses, okay? I was free, single, and engaged. I had no commitments. And every day I would go. I was staying right in Crep and Rapsy Street by an old aunt of mine. In those days, you call her your father's mother, sister, your tanty. So from May, June, July, every single day, I would go to the library. And that was a major source of information that, you know, that was contained in those newspaper articles. And also, at that time on Lower St. Vincent Street, there was a studio attached where the Guardian building is now, where you had an archive of calypsos that was sung during that period. And because I was a university student, I was given access to that studio. So I was able to listen to it and also to record it verbatim. Right? So all of the calypsos that are contained in the book were calypsos that I had transcribed from going to that studio. So that they are outside of Rum and Coca-Cola and one or two others in the book. The rest of calypsos that are in this book are not known, because the studio was destroyed by fire some years afterwards, okay? And so a lot of these calypsos, you know, have been lost. Well, I think Chogdas tells me that he has some of them, okay? So if I were to give you, if I read one of those calypsos, that you will understand what I'm talking about, okay? This one, the calypso is a bit unknown. It says, "No flour, no rice in the land. Believe me, too much small island. Yes, they came by the 1, the 2, and the 3, eating our food and then leaving us hungry. So small island, go back where you really come from. The Grenadian is the worst of all." This is not me, please. This is calypso. Eh? Here they talk. "Me not going back at all. Yes, they land in Trinidad in a fishing boat. Now they're wearing a saga coat. So small island, go back where you really come from. If ever you meet a Vincentian man, they will tell you that I am a Trinidadian. They improve on their speech and they're speaking correctly. And they're arguing educationally. So small island, go back where you really come from. The St. Lucians, they are just the same." I see Dr. Montoon left the room, and I don't think she knew I was going to say this. "Now they are making their name in Port of Spain. They will send for their brother, their aunt, and their sister, their cousins, and also their grandmother. So small island, go back where you really come from. These Barbadians, they're too blooming bad. Now they get so fresh now in Trinidad." I have Bajan ancestors, eh? "They will live in Aruca and Tunapuna, but their real hiding place is in Arima. So small island, go back where you really come from." So that's where the whole concept of the small island, you know, came about in Trinidad. So because what happened was that there was a massive influx of labor from the islands to work on the construction site on the base in Chagaramas, which was the naval base, and on the air base, which is in Wallerfield in Kamutu. Now, there's an important point that I want to establish very early o'clock. You know, I wouldn't go more than half an hour, please, because we'll finish before 3. Now, this is very important, and it is on page 5 of the book. What made Trinidad strategically important was the fact that up to 1937, the colonial government had made concessions to 22 oil companies, the activities of which made the island of Trinidad the largest producer of refined oil in the British Empire. In 1937, the island of Trinidad was the largest producer of refined oil in the entire British Empire. And you know, in those days, the sun could never set on the British Empire. It's all Africa, India, you know, all of these places. And little Trinidad, right, was the largest producer. According to the Foster's report in 1937, because immediately after the 1937 riots, the British sent Lord Foster, as they normally do, to do a commission of inquiry. So the Foster Commission of Inquiry, which examined the causes of the outbreak of the riots in 1937, reported that Trinidad produced 62.8% of the empire's refined oil. Imagine that? That we were producing 62.8% of the oil of the entire British Empire in 1937. Such was our significance and importance to the war machinery. Trinidad became additionally important. I see my bigger sister is in, I'm in big trouble now. My bigger sister and my younger sister. Right? My 2 brothers are not here, so okay. So Trinidad became additionally important to Britain because of its proximity to the metropole vis-a-vis Persia, especially given the probability of the Suez Canal being closed in a projected war with Germany and Italy. The fact that the colony of Trinidad produced 25% of the aviation fuel required by the Royal Air Force also added to its importance. So not only did we produce 62.8% of the oil, refined oil of the entire British Empire, we also produced 25% of the aviation fuel. Now, the Second World War witnessed the emergence of 2 important technologies of war, the submarine and the aeroplane. And both of these 2 inventions required energy, right? Oil and aviation fuel. And because of the fact that Trinidad possessed these 2 critical energy resources, in addition to our geopolitical location, the southernmost island in the Caribbean, because the Second World War was mainly fought on the seas. And America was already very aware of the fact that coming after the First World War, Britain would have been incapable of defending itself from an attack from Germany and her allies, the Japanese and whatnot. Remember the strike on Pearl Harbor by the Japanese in the Pacific, okay, using their kamikaze, suicide pilots. Suicide bombers didn't start with the Middle East, and the Japanese brought it in, right? So the first point is the importance of Trinidad. Trinidad! Somebody asked me, why Trinidad, not Tobago? Well, I couldn't go to Tobago at the time, in any case. But the occupation was with Trinidad, okay? And at that time, the known fuel resources were onshore resources, okay? Now we know of the offshore. You didn't have the offshore Manatee Field and the Dragon Field and all those things. Everything was land, okay? So this was the significance of Trinidad. And Britain was very much aware under that guy called Winston Churchill that they could not defend itself singularly from an attack from Germany. So on the 2nd of September of 1940, which is what, we're in September now, right? It was about 78 years ago, right? Britain leased to the United States air and naval bases in selected Caribbean territories, as well as in Newfoundland, in return. So Britain leased it was called the Rainbow Plan. So if you look at Bermuda down to Trinidad is like a rainbow. All of the British possessions, including Guyana, from Bermuda in the north come down to the south. That was the Rainbow Plan, where Britain would lease to the United States of America lands on all of her possessions to the United States of America in exchange for 50 US destroyers for a period of 99 years. So in the case of Trinidad, the naval base is Chaguaramas, okay? And the Wallerfield and other parts of Trinidad for 99 years. That is 1940 to when? 1940. So when I saw people going down to Chaguaramas and marching from Chaguaramas and telling us that Dr. Williams marched to Chaguaramas, that never happened. Dr. Eric Williams never marched to Chaguaramas. He walked around the Queen's Park Savannah. Okay? He never led no march to Chaguaramas. That never happened. Don't take my advice. You can go and check it out for yourself. He did not lead no march to Chaguaramas. He went around the savannah to highlight the fact that he wanted, but he knew he could not get Chaguaramas because of this agreement. It was a mere, as Williams was a strategic politician. Okay? So all the facilities down in Chaguaramas were built by the Americans. The so-called convention center that stands here today, that was the administrative headquarters. Okay, see, my sister is terrific me now. I'm raising my voice. Thank you very much, Beverly. Look, that's why she's here. No, seriously. All right? That was the administrative center of the Americans' presence here. Okay? That center there. All those buildings down there, you see how they have been built? That earthquake you got there, that couldn't shake those things. Okay? And Wallerfield was for the naval base. The largest airstrip in this part of the world was that there in Wallerfield. And that naval base down there can accommodate submarines, massive ships. That is a fantastic, marine resource that this country of Trinidad and Tobago possesses, because that was built by America to defend itself from the expected attack from the Germans and the Japanese. Okay? The Camden airstrip there also was built by the Americans. And there are different facilities. Point 14 in Clifton Hill has an airstrip. All right? All the road to Camuto, Chuta Manzanilla, they're built by the Americans because they had to have access to the oil reserves in Guaguari and all these places. Okay? This was the whole thing. So from 1940, the Americans came, and the entire island was totally disrupted. There was a massive movement of labor and workers from all sectors of the local economy to the American base, because the level of the wages that were being paid, okay, and also the value of the US dollar compared to what was the highest paid worker here, there was no comparison. Teachers, all kinds of skilled people left where they were working and went to get jobs on the American base in Chagaramas and in Wallerfield. And not only was there an influx of labor from all sectors of the local economy, there was also an influx of labor from the Caribbean, all right, to work. Because you are talking about all of these constructions within a period of 2 years, because this was a period of war. Okay? And they knew that the Germans and the Japanese were coming. Right? So whereas we would take 8 years to build a highway today, okay, and it didn't finish yet, they built the Churchill-Luzerne Highway within 1.5 years. They laid the Young Road. They rode to Maracas because Tetron was the #1 bathing resort of the people of Trinidad. And everybody had to move out. Let me give you an example what I'm talking about. I have just returned, I'm reading it from a newspaper reporter. I have just returned from meeting persons who must, at least for another 99 years, leave the village in which they were themselves born. This village is Tetron Bay. Today is the last day on which Tetron Bay will be occupied by natives of this colony. The reporter highlighted the case of 80-year-old Pa Charlie. This Tetron resident told him, and I quote, "We have always lived very loving, and I only hope that this removal will not wreck that happy family life that existed among us. I am going, my days are over, but I pray for the younger ones. Nobody but those who are actually affected by this removal knows how hard it is." Saying this, Pa Charlie broke into tears, end of quote. Okay? Because not only was Tetron a major recreational resort, it was also, that Western Peninsula was the food basket of Trinidad. The vegetation, the rainfall, the soil. So most of those people there were farmers. And they produced a lot of the local foods. But all of them had to remove themselves overnight and find wherever they could find themselves, whether in Carenage or in St. James, that whole strip in St. James today with Smokey and Bunty, those things developed as a result of the Second World War, because that is where the American soldiers used to go and enjoy themselves, okay, with Yankee dollar. You understand? With Gina and Dinah and Rosita and Clementina. You know, that is what it was, okay? So the important point first, therefore, is this geostrategic significance of Trinidad, and also in terms of the possession of oil and an aviation fuel, which was critical to the war effort. So, and for 99 years, which means to say, until that 99 year is ended, right, you could read between the lines, okay? So, the other point I wanted to make to you, because I can't go into all the details of it, all right? There's an interesting piece also I'd like to share it with you. This guy, this reporter, all right? He was walking through Port of Spain, and he met this woman, a vendor, elderly woman, talking to herself, okay? So he said that the vendor was bending over 3 sacks of vegetables, and while separating the breadfruit from other things, was talking querulously to herself, and he's quoting her. So he said, "What are you quarreling about, old lady?" I asked. She straightened herself slowly. "Me?" she said. "I ain't quarreling. I'm studying the trouble, that is all." "What trouble?" She told me that she had returned from Pinal, where she bought provisions and paid a price for them which would allow her if she retailed at the scheduled price, where the big controller put upon me to make $2. $2, I said? You call that trouble? Because $2 in them days is plenty money. She cried. And what about my expense? I had was to pay a gentleman with a cart 32 cents to carry the thing and them to the railway station in Pinal, because in those days, we had the railway, okay? Where you would go down to San Fernando, down by the terminal. That was the major communication hub between San Fernando and Port of Spain, and also of Pinal, because the trains would pass there. So she would take the train there and go straight to Pinal and buy her provisions, come back there and come into Port of Spain on the train. Okay? So she said, and what about the expense? Right? I had was to pay a gentleman with a car 32 cents to carry the thing and them to the railway station in Pinal. The railman charged me 30 cents. And when I reached here, I had was to pay a next mister 24 cents to carry my bag and them give me. And look what happened to my breadfruit. How they bust up. That is 86 cents out of your $2, I pointed out. You still have $1.14 left. She said, and where you think, she exclaimed, the train does carry me for free? And what about the day I just lost when I buy in? You call that trouble? How people must live? I didn't know the answers. So that too, I found that was a very graphic, piece that, again, which I got from the newspapers, all right, that really brought out, life in Trinidad during this period, okay? And there's another interesting piece I want to share with you, because these days we talk about the gang warfare and all of these things, as if it is a 21st century, phenomenon. But not so. It has its roots very much in this particular period. Okay? This is another one shows you what happened, because as a result of the massive influx of people into Port of Spain, there was massive overcrowding, all right? You didn't have enough rooms, okay? All right. Yeah, I'm going to wind up just now, right? 10 Barbadians have been found living in a normal-sized apartment of 2 in the city. There are many other instances where many as 5 live in one apartment, and many have been found living together in a single room. So there's an acute shortage of housing, which therefore there's also a shortage of water, because you didn't have enough of water supply to satisfy this massive influx of people. So you had all kinds of illnesses, pneumonia and all kinds of diseases, that spread, malaria and what have you. It is only out of this backdrop that we can understand the cause of the outbreak of violence in the depressed and deprived areas of Port of Spain. Based primarily on the frustration and suffering of the people in the places as heavily populated as East Dry River and Belmont, that one saw the emergence of 10 groups of gangsters in Port of Spain alone. For example, there were Bar 20, John Gang, the Boys from the Bridge, Poland Gang, and Batman Gang. Does that sound familiar to you? This is the origins of these gangs, okay? Batman Gang and Poland Gang, the Man from the Bridge, John Gang. This is recorded as I said in our newspapers, in 1941, 42, 43, and this is also linked to the steel band movement, okay, which came out of these places, okay? So that I can't go into all of the details of, of what is, but this is what was done. And my lecturer gave me an A for it, for the book, for the thesis. And he said to publish it. That was 1976. I was just 22 years. And I have now published it. So, okay? So but I went to, all the different publications that we did over the years. We would go to the libraries, we'll buy it, Alma Jordan has bought, as a normal, the 2 or 3, and the IR library has taken 1 as normal. But normally, Nalis would buy about 30 or 40, which they will distribute to all their branches. Okay? But when I went for this one, they said that they have not been given money in the last 2 years to buy books. So I asked the librarian, but this is encouraging ignorance. How is it? The National Library that is responsible for purchasing books to distribute to all the branches have not been given $1 for 2 years. That means all the new knowledge that would have come and seen, the National Library has not bought it. That is encouraging ignorance. It's like if we have the library here on the campus that has been starved of funds and not $1 to buy any new books and information for the library, for the university students. You know what I'm talking about? But that is out of my control. All right? But so the book is out finally, and I'm thankful for the opportunity, and the professor for giving me the opportunity here, you know, to expose or to share some of its contents, right, which I feel is very important. I saw what the Minister of Education said last year, 2 years ago, that they will encourage, you know, the introduction of a lot of local history into our curriculum. This is important, that should be in the schools, all right, both primary and secondary schools, so that we appreciate, you know, our whole historical background and where we came from and what we've been through, all right? So that this is my contribution. And as I said, I thank you very much. I thank all of you all for coming. My 2 sisters who are finally here. As you realize, my tone has gone down since you directed me to do. All right? But I want to say one other point. I am tempted to do that. I have about 2 minutes again, right? Again, it gives you the idea of the 1970s, the spirit of the 70s, right? And as you know, 1979, there was the Grenada Revolution. And when I had finished my first degree in 76, I went straight on to do my master's degree in political science at St. Augustine. I was also given a tutorial class in politics, introduction to politics. On the campus here, I was 22 years. They used to give me a little thing, and those days was a lot of money, all right? And in fact, my godly sister was one of my students. She behaved very well, I should say, in my tutorial class. And, but those were the days of the 70s. We wanted to change the world. And in March of 1977, I left my master's degree. I left my sister in my tutorial class, okay? And I went full-time with NJAC, okay? My father and mother never put me out of the house, right? Not that they were pleased, right? That I had left a master's degree at the age of 22, right? And go full-time into politics, right? And I remained full-time from 1977 until I accepted the ambassadorship in January of 2011. Okay? So I was at NJAC full-time for over 34 years. Okay? I got a wife, I have 3 children. Tarka is the second. My eldest is just finished his PhD in Mona. He's now assistant lecturer in Mona in culture and communications. And my 3rd son has a master's in aerospace science engineering. He's lecturing at the Aviation Institute at UTT at the time, now. And plus my wife now, right now she's not here because she's doing agriculture at Centeno. And I am publishing a book and talking about going to a PhD. I'm now 64 years, okay? So, and I was speaking to Professor Dukaran 2 days ago. And he has a similar experience, okay? And, but the experience I've gained, invaluable experience. So I'm looking forward to finishing the master's by December, all right? And I'm looking to go to the PhD immediately from January, but I'm going to do it in Nigeria, in African and global studies, because my research paper, which I have just completed for my master's degree, I can't talk about it because it's still in the hands of my examiners. I hope they are not too hard on me, all right? But that work I have done for my master's, I think I'm committed to going further on it. I think it's very important. It's an area I'm very much interested in, right? It deals with the African Union and the 6th region, okay? So that's my plan. At least you must have a plan, okay? So my plan by January to go and pursue my PhD, okay? And we'll see where that leads all of us. So I thank you all very much. Those of you who haven't gotten a copy of the book, we do have available. It's only $200 for those who haven't gotten it. And you can share it and tell other friends and family about it. So I thank you very much. And we do have some light refreshments available for you at the reception room downstairs. So please don't leave before you get yourself refreshed. I thank you very much.
I think you all should give Nyahuma Obika another round of applause for enlightening us this afternoon.
I'm sorry, I'm very sorry. I was going to make a point. I can't leave without saying this. I think it's too important to show what spirit existed in St. Augustine. I'm sorry, Anthony. But I was making a point that after the Grenada Revolution in 1979, my sister came here in 1976. They graduated in 1979. The Grenada Revolution was in March 13th, 1979, right? Do you know the graduating class in 1979, almost all went straight from St. Augustine straight to Grenada and worked in the Grenada government. My sister was made assistant manager of Import-Export Board. How many students went across? You can remember 30, 40 of them. Young, she was about 19 years old. Young students, male and female, left from, and she's from Trinidad, you know. That was the spirit of the 70s. They left, I don't think she came home and tell my father she's going, right? All of them left Trinidad, almost the whole class of 30 or 40, you know, and went straight to Grenada to work under the New Drill government in 1979 under Maurice Bishop. That was the spirit of the 70s. And you know the history, well, what happened after that with Bishop and whatnot. I think it's important that I say that. Because this is not about me. This is about that era. Okay? So I thank you very much for that.
Yes, as I was saying, I want just to understand all that Mr. Obika has said to us this afternoon. I encourage you to get a copy of this book and read it. Since the book came out, I had my copy and I read cover to cover. So this afternoon, I want to thank Senator Wade Mark for presenting here this afternoon to us. I want you all to give him a round of applause. Thank you all very much. I also want to thank Kamara for also speaking to us here this afternoon. So I want you all to give him a round of applause. Thank you all very much. And Dr. Michael, who came and spoke with us, I want you also to give him a round of applause. He's not here. And I want you to give yourselves a round of applause for being here this afternoon and being a part of this exercise. I also want to thank the Institute of International Relations for allowing us to host this function here this afternoon so that all of us could be edified as to the period of the 70s. And that is one more who is now flashing. Yes. So thank you all very much. And we now have the signing of the book and downstairs, the staff lounge and small reception. Thank you all very much again for coming. One more evening.
Welcome. Thank you. You remember the name?